Oh, now what? Hey, thanks for dropping by, CantLetHerDie DIY. You found this channel, you found this video, you must have a Kubota L2550. Like, that's what this is, 1986 L2550. And the shop boss just gave me a light. Come here, shop boss. Good job, yeah, nice. And we got problems with this tractor. We have big problems. This summer, it hasn't been charging. The battery been going, it's getting weaker and weaker, and then I have to charge the battery, and then after a week or so, it's weaker again, and so I'm just looking at it now. I gotta find out what's going on with that battery. Is it the battery? Is it the alternator? Is it the regulator? Have rodents been chewing on the wiring harness? Can be any of those things, can be none of those things. If you found this channel, you probably have a similar problem with a weak battery. And before you run out and buy a new battery or a new alternator or even a regulator or wiring harness, you better do some testing. That's what I'm going to do today. We're going to get in here, we're going to get the multimeter out, we're going to be hooking up the diodes, positive, negative, voltage, we're going to be reading voltage, we're going to be reading the resistance. It's going to be great. You got this. If you've got a multimeter, you can do this. And if you don't have a multimeter, you're going to learn a lot of what the common problems are that'll probably don't even need a multimeter. It's going to be great. You want to see the tools I'm going to use? Come over here. Right here are your basic tools, but there is some that you do need. This is my new light. Ho, ho, ho. Santa has me down as nice and not as naughty, so that's good. A toothbrush just for cleaning, you'll see in the video. A drive, 3/8 drive, an extender, and a 10mm socket. We have a part that I don't want to tell you what part it is, but there's the part number at the end of the video. You'll see that I do figure out what part I need, and that's it. 33251 74010 Kubota. We use some baking soda and a cup with some water in it. I make up a little solution. You don't have to do it, of course, if you don't want to. I start the video out with a magnetic pointer, and I quickly switch to a non-conductive pointer and sparks fire. So you'll know what happened there. You want to see that? That's pretty exciting. My grandfather's screwdriver always makes an appearance. This sucker is 100 years old and still working. And I use a multimeter. This is a Mastercraft 052-0052-2 multimeter from Mastercraft. Any multimeter will do, and it's really good for chasing down electronic defects and problems. And we're going to get in there. We're going to diagnose what is the electrical problem. Why is this tractor not charging my battery? What is it? Why is it? And what we can do about it. You're going to want to see this. Throw on your old clothes, I'll throw on my own clothes. Meet you back here in 5 minutes. Let's get down and dirty on that Kubota L2550. Okay, let's see what's going on with this thing. Let's pop the top off here. Get this handle, pull out, and this conveniently slides up. You guys know this because you have a 2550 or a 2850 or whatever L series tractor. So I'm looking at the engine in here. Come on in here. Take a look. If you can see in here, you got the light sitting there. And if you follow my pointer right in there, it's the negative terminal on the battery. You can see all this white powder all over it, only on the negative terminal of the battery. That white powder is not here, where the positive terminal of the battery is, right there, only on the negative. Ooh, check it out. We are on the other side of the tractor now, the passenger side. If there was a passenger, it'd be over here. So the opposite side of the steering wheel, we better look at the battery. This is the negative terminal, And you can see all this crystallized sulfur. So vapors, sulfuric acid inside the battery, sulfur vapors, and sulfuric acid is crystallizing on the surface of the battery, reacting with this metal, and it's also caking around here and reducing the connection between the negative terminal and this negative terminal cable, which grounds to the engine. So that could be a problem right there. If it builds, that reduces your connection, reducing your negative, your ground. Now what we got to do is clean this up so we get good connections right here. And since this is acidic in nature, the sulfuric acid crystals, we'll create an alkaline mixture so that we can clean that up and neutralize that acidic situation on the surface of the battery. Okay, I relocated you to my workbench now. I have my goggles on because we're going to deal with, we're going to make an alkaline solution so that we can clean up that sulfuric acid crystals on the surface of that battery. So we're going to attack acids with alkaline solution. And the easiest way to do that is go steal some of your baking soda from your fridge. Right here, Arm & Hammer baking soda. I got water up to about here. I'm going to take a couple teaspoons baking soda and mix it with the water, and we're going to have a good solution, alkaline solution to clean that battery up with. Not a big deal, but I know it's in a solo cup, but guys, don't drink it. It's not going to be very good. Okay, before I clean this battery up, I want to see what kind of voltage is pumping out before I clean up that powdery sulfuric crystals. So I got the lead, I got my multimeter on here, and I'm going to touch both the terminals. There we go. And we are getting what? 11.83. Can you see that on the multimeter? 11.83. This is a 12 volt battery. It should be pumping out slightly over 12 volts. So it's down in the charge. Now that could be because of a connection problem, but when I touch the terminals, it's still 12.83, right? So it's indicative of a bad battery. But I'll clean it up and I'll charge this battery up and we'll see if it's holding 12 or more volts. So if my charging system on the tractor is not working properly and this battery is forced to work being undercharged, that will damage the battery. It will cause this vaping of sulfuric gases, causing the sulfuric acids crystals, this white powder here, and over time being run very hard without being charged back up can damage the battery, which may be what has happened here. Alkaline solution on a rag, so just get the rag wet and wipe her down a little bit there. Let's clean this puppy up. Let's get the bracket off so we can clean underneath the bracket. More crust, more sulfuric acid crystals, leaking hydrogen, sulfuric acid vapors coming up from the cap, reacting with the metal, causing sulfuric crystals only around the negative terminal. We'll clean that up. It's all caked in the underside of that clamp of that bracket that's holding down the battery. It's all in there as well. Let's clean that up. So we're going to put a little charge on the battery. It's still at 11.83 volts. It should be over 12. We're going to try to charge up this battery, see if it holds a charge. Now that we got the battery all cleaned up, it was the voltage on the battery was 11.83. We got her all cleaned up. We put a little charge on it, and it's responding well to the battery charger. So let's check out and see what we got here. So I'll put the, I got the voltmeter here, and I'll put it on the positive terminal, and one connection on the negative terminal. And there, 12.64 volts. Lovely. That's where it should be. So we got a good battery, folks. Okay, on the driver's side of the tractor, or the left side, if you come over here, you can see that's the air filter. There's the radiator coolant reservoir. And just behind that is the alternator, in case you don't know. Now look at this alternator. It is primitive. It is old. That's the original alternator. Look at it. 1986, folks. I mean, that has not been rewired. That is the original alternator. You check the belt is tight, so it's spinning good. And this looks like it's so old it should be this. But don't jump to any conclusions. Let's do a test on the alternator and see if it is the alternator that's failing. So the first thing you do, there's two connections. There's a live wire right here with this boot on it. You pull that boot off. We need access to that, and we need to pull this plug back like that. Now there's 3 terminals on this, 3 terminals on the plug, right? So this is the B terminal, or the battery. So this is going to the battery from the alternator. And don't ground it out like that. I guess we do have some power going to the alternator. So we don't even have to do this test now, because I just shorted it out. I touched that, and then I touched the side there, and I grounded it out and caused a spark. So we know that wire is live, right? And it's a good reminder not to mess around. So this is the F terminal here. So we need to test with the voltmeter from the live B terminal to the F terminal. And that will determine if the wiring harness is intact and there's no break on the wiring harness. You could have a rodent in there chewing on the wires. You could have a broken wire, and this will test it. It should be the same voltage as the battery. So if you take your voltmeter on DC volts, you touch that, and then you come in here and you touch this F terminal like that, you should get 12.6 on the multimeter, the same as the battery current. So we know that. We now know the wiring harness is intact. The wiring harness is functioning properly. Whoa, I feel energized after that last scene, let me tell you. And I've also switched to a wooden pointer. So, on this scene, in the last scene, I indicated that this was the F terminal. That's incorrect. This is the E terminal. This is the F terminal. Now we need to run the multimeter from the F to the E, and we have to do this with the key on. So we got to turn the ignition key on and fire up this wire here, and we should get the same voltage as the battery. So 12.6 is what we're looking for here. So I'll do that now. I'll turn the key on. Okay, we got lights on the dash. Turn the key to the first click. And now let's see if I can do this without electrocuting myself. But it's really not that dangerous, folks. But let's go from the back here where I can get a better connection. So we can go from F right there and to E. F to E, and I push it in there hard, and we're getting 8.96. We are nowhere near 12. I just want to make sure I get a good connection. I'll try again. That's connected well. That there is in there good. We get 8.9 volts. Can You get that on the multimeter? That is a clue. So let's reconnect this. And we'll turn the key off. Okay, that was a big clue. Let's recap. We checked the wiring harness going to the alternator. That's good. It's pumping out at the same voltage as the battery, so that is good. It's not a wire. Right now I put the leads on this connector on lead E and lead F, which is coming from the regulator and coming from the fuse, and I turn the key on, so I charge that, and we're getting next to nothing, no voltage on there. We should be getting the same voltage just coming off the battery. That's what we should get. We're not getting it, so that's a huge clue. It's not the alternator. It's something else. It's either the fuse or the regulator. That's where we're leaning. Let's check it out. Let's check out the fuse. Okay, so that test tells us that it's either the fuse or the regulator, because we're getting no voltage when my wife turns the key, getting nothing. So could it be the fuse? I just checked all the fuses. Now, I had to check them all because I don't have the box that goes over the fuses that gives you the contents of which fuse operates what. But I checked them all anyway, which is good. They're all good. It's never the fuse, not in this video. That'd be way too easy. I wouldn't be making a video. So now it's the regulator. At least I think it's the regulator. What is the regulator and where the heck is it? Good question. I'm glad you asked it. The regulator, what does it do? Well, it regulates, of course. And that is the answer teachers do not want. So you need more detail on that. What the regulator does is it distributes the electricity throughout the components of the vehicle. So in this tractor here, if the battery starts to drop below 13.5 volts, the regulator will put more energy to the battery to charge it up. If the battery is charged more than 14.5 say, the regulator will distribute the electricity to the accessories, the lights, that sort of thing. So it's constantly regulating where the electricity goes from the battery. So it's doing its job. That's when it's doing its job. And I got a feeling that it's not doing anything because it's defective, it's worn out. Now where the heck is the regulator? Good question, really good. I'm glad you asked that one too. Okay, now I got you on the passenger side of the tractor now. If I want to locate the regulator, so if you want to get down here, just above the battery, you'll find this black box. That's the regulator. The other way you can tell is you follow the wires coming off the positive terminal of the battery. They come down here, this wire, and then these 6 wires break off here and are attached by this plug up here to the regulator. That's the regulator right there, folks. There's the part number. That's the regulator, and that is the culprit according to our last test. It doesn't have the same voltage as we get off the battery on that last test, so it's indicating it's either this, the regulator, the wiring harness, which we already ruled out in the previous test, or the fuse, the main switch fuse, which it's not because it starts up no problem. So it's the regulator. Here it is. These are 10 millimeter bolts, two 10 millimeter bolts to take that off, and this is kind of cool. It's a zip tie, but it releases. If you push the finger there, you can pull that right off. See that? That's what I like about Kubota. Instead of cutting off a zip tie and having to put another one on, they got one there that you can undo, which is cool. So we'll take off this regulator, which we believe is defective, and I just happen to have a replacement regulator, and we'll snap it on. Off with the old, on with the new. Nice. Beauty. And we'll put this one on back the way we found it. There. There, in the hole. Now they are finger tight, and we will tighten them up, snug these up. Our nice shiny new regulator, made in Japan, original equipment part, beauty. Now we'll plug it in. Goes that way, it goes this way, just like that. That goes in nice and snug, and we'll use the original zip tie. Doesn't even cost us a zip tie. And we'll tighten that up, shear that up like that. That's all there is to it. Now you can do that. You got this, you got it. It's usually the regulator, folks. Let's go test it out. We got everything on here. We're good to go. Regulator, battery, alternator, relay switch. Let's start it, see what kind of volts we're pulling. See if that alternator is charging the battery. The final test, we've got everything hooked up. We're going to start the tractor up and see if the charging system is charging the battery. So I got the multimeter set up on DC volts. One terminal on the negative, one on the positive, and we got 12.59 volts to that battery. That battery's holding a good charge. That's great. Now we're going to charge. Now we're going to start it up, rev it up. And we're going to see if we get somewhere around 14 volts going to that battery. Cross your fingers. Now rev it. Okay, she's pumping up over 14 volts on the battery, and now the engine is shut off, and the battery is dropping back down to 12.89. So it's been charged a little bit more than it was before. So it's working perfect. You should have, when the alternator is functioning properly, should have 14 point something volts. We got over 14 on there, and it just started, so that was great. So we did it, folks. Do a few of these tests that I showed you, because it may be the regulator. Now this, when I first bought this tractor 15 years ago, the battery started to die down as I used it, and I replaced the battery, thinking it was a bad battery. And then a couple weeks later, the battery went down again. That was a brand new battery, so I knew it was something else. And I went through this testing diagnosis with the multimeter, and I realized it was a regulator. I replaced the regulator. It's been great ever since. That was 15 years ago. That alternator, you've seen how old it is. That's an original alternator, and it's still pumping out 14 volts. And batteries will come and go, but it's the regulator, folks. Most likely it'll be the regulator. So hopefully I helped you out here. Hopefully you didn't buy the alternator, you didn't buy a new battery, and you're going to go right to the regulator, which isn't very expensive. I think it's like 35 bucks on the internet. Dealer, it'd be like 80 bucks from the dealer. So if I helped you out, hopefully I helped you out. Hopefully I saved you a little bit of money. If I did help you out, why not help me out? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a good comment maybe, and if you haven't already, subscribe. We got more videos coming out. I want to help you help yourself.